We share the nicest community. We are live on YouTube. Hello, welcome back to Tradespotting, where hopes and dreams meet ends and memes. And we're back with the greatest story ever told about the greatest show you've ever seen. And I'm here with the greatest friend that I've made on this journey, the hero, Andy Lee. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the show, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm great, thanks. Always great to talk to you. And first time we're doing this live, so I'm very good, very happy. How's it going, Jamie? How's it going?
It's going good. I've enjoyed price action's stability at these levels, the fact that we've held certain horizontals. I've had a nice time catching up with some sleep, not as much as I'd like over the weekend, but some. And yeah, everything
You're
in
looking
my...
better already.
Thanks. I wish. One day I'll look as good as you, Andy. As smooth.
Come on. You always look charming and awesome. You look better with more sleep. Better. Okay, right. Jamie, now let's talk about our beloved AMC and GME. When do you think will be the next spike of GME? I want to know too. I've been holding strong. You've been holding strong.
Well, Andy, you're an absolute legend, and a number of things that you don't get the credit for, which you certainly deserve it, are you're highlighting the importance of the CAT system, Consolidated Audit Trail, and you were one of the very first on the money with the concept of direct registration and computer share. And Andy, you were so far ahead of the game on that front. It's unbelievable. I think those are very important fundamental reasons that are pushing price action or holding us at certain levels and are likely to push it further. The charts suggest that, and we can look at that later if you like, or I can do it when you've slotted off LB, that there might be a new spike in and around the 13th, 14th, 15th of December, where we'd reach the end of a Fibonacci time zone. At the same date is when the large institutional members of the Consolidated Audit Trail in this new system will have to be in full compliance, and the system will go live on the 13th, 14th, and 15th. That Consolidated Audit System, which itself distinguishes between longs and short longs and long shorts, and will help track and register shares. And I think that it's a really important date. I think that overall, the whole DRS of shares removes real shares from the ledgers at the DTC. As we know, they've a very special accounting system, which means they never really need to move those real shares around. Without direct registration, it's highly likely that your shares and mine would be lent out, and if not lent out, collateralized in a different sneaky way that we're not completely aware of. So I think that direct registration is a fantastic idea, and credit to you for talking about it. I think if you're a prime broker, then you don't even need to move shares around. You might not even have real shares because of this system. And to imagine that they're locked down would be silly. Likely, despite multiple purchases and transfers, those shares never moved from their original account, and as such could be lent out, and similar, this process would continue forever without direct registration. So I think it's a brilliant idea. And the particular nature of it, how it removes shares from the DTC, it removes real shares from their ledger at the base level, is incredibly important. Even if it isn't necessarily the tinder that sparks the fire, it's so very important because of the implications from the CATS system that you talk about. CATS, the Consolidated Audit Trail, small industry members are now already essentially in compliance. That's the broker dealers with capitalization of less than $500,000. Their reporting goes live finally on the 29th of November. Large industry members is on the 13th of December.
So you've been doing your homework. CAT system is already live, and by end of November, more has to come into appliance with it.
Exactly. And then by the second week in December, we can see the large members moving on, which would be a large change. CAT tracks orders throughout their life cycle. It identifies the broker dealers which is handling each particular share, and that allows regulators to efficiently track all the activity in eligible securities that are those in the US markets. It effectively distinguishes between long and short longs, and it will clarify the reporting data, which they hope will lead to increased price efficiency. The juggle and balls they're juggling is that they never want to harm the large liquidity providers, because to them, liquidity is God. But these mechanisms are all coming into place now, and I look at it as an analogy like when you're trying to move a really fat man off a sofa and he doesn't want to get up. Yeah, it's very difficult, right? Exactly. You need a.
I'm gonna bring you up.
You need a big spade underneath them. Use the word so commonly used against us. You need a little bit of leverage, and I think if you can get a big spade of doom underneath them, then we'll all jump up and down on it like a bunch of lunatics and get his fat ass off the chair.
Right. So for those of you who don't know yet, CATS is Consolidated Audit Trail System, CATS. It's like an all-seeing system. This is a short, this is a long, that is this is that. But Jamie, it's just seeing. Seeing means I see you. If you're doing good job, if you're doing bad job, if you're doing dirty work, if you're doing something illegal, it's just seeing. But okay, so what if you see me? I'm Big C. I'm doing what I'm doing. I do naked shorts. You see me. So what? What are you going to do about it? It's a surveillance system, but you need police to enforce it after you do the surveillance, right? CAT system is surveillance, but we still need the police to enforce the laws. So what I'm saying is you still need the regulatory bodies to enforce the new rules. You could have 10 new rules, you could have 100 new rules, you could have 1,000 new rules, but what good are the rules if you don't enforce them?
Exactly. And even with cats, you wonder exactly how that enforcement will go. If it allows us to uh, tighten the rope and the net around them to a degree. It allows us to pull it in. There are some aspects to cats which are self-reporting, and the overall committee that is responsible for administering the compliance is made up of its own members. So to a degree, they report to themselves, and in some instances, you can be suspicious of that. But if those members are responsible to each other, and if the reporting system does clarify each other's positions, then they'll be able to see which one is the liability, and untangle their own, therefore, untangle their own position. So it might be that even if it, because we're moving from a system called OATS, which was in place when I was working at the banks, and the main distinguishing factor between the two isn't necessarily the oversight, but it's the clarity of the data that each member gives to each other, which allows them to then see their own personal liabilities in reaction to one person's problem. So it's interesting. Like you say there, though, with all the rules coming in and the fact that we still need to enforce them in order to make them mean anything. And then you look around and you see on the US media, mainstream media, they talk about how payment for order flow is actually good value for the consumer. And they talk about things that in all other serious markets in the world are illegal. And they say things in America about how it's actually good value and it helps the retail investor. It does shows you, doesn't it?
Helps the broker.
It helps the broker, and the broker is such an important part of the system for that particular mechanism with the payment for order flow and the number of brokers and the downstream brokers from prime brokers. It's interesting the dynamics and how it'll all split up. A lot of people are worried that they'll lose their money when the brokers get in trouble. What's your perspective on that, Andy? Do you have an opinion?
Oh, yes, I do. Speaking of brokers, Jamie, and speaking of mainstream media, just think logically. If I am mainstream media and you are broker and Rocky is retail, I'm mainstream media. Do I care more about retail Rocky or do I care more about broker Jamie? Who gives me the advertisements? Broker Jamie, right? Who gives me the advertisement? Retail Rocky? No, I don't care about retail. I get my income of advertisement from brokers, big brokers. So I, the mainstream media, care more about my clients, my brokers, who gives me advertisements. That's the
Yes, and
logical way
yeah,
things
it's the
work in the real
logical way
world.
it works, and a lot of people don't seem to understand too when they look for a broker they can trust, is that all brokers' business model is dependent on either a prime broker or, in most cases,
Mhm.
also an investment bank giving
Right,
them shares for them to sell to the retail market. And of
right.
course, if you work that out, if the investment bank are selling those shares to a broker, then they don't want them. And if the broker's selling them to you, then the broker likely also doesn't want them, which kind of explains why most brokers in every market in the world, as soon as you open up a trade, will take the exact same trade on the other side of the market and trade against you.
You're speaking like a pro because you were a pro. You are a pro from hedge funds management way back when before. Now, one other thing, Jamie. Assuming I'm a broker, um, think logically. Broker, is broker a charity foundation or is broker a profiting foundation? I have to make profits. So, of course, I'd like payment for order flow. It gives me profits. I'm not a charity foundation, so why should I care about the retail? I'm a broker, okay? Retail, you take care of your own lives. You buy or you sell, that is your own business. I am broker. I have to make money. So I have to make profits. I'm not a charity guy. So brokers are after money. Brokers are after money from payment or for order flow. Brokers are after money against retail because when retail loses money, broker makes money. Well, of course, when retail makes money, broker also takes a cut and also makes money.
Exactly, but how many retail clients actually make money when 90% of all traders will go bust within 6 months? The vast majority of any broker's clients will be gone within 6 months. So the ability to take repeated fees and get increased customer lifetime value is very slim with their majority of clients. And so they'd rather you went bust, and they'd rather you went bust as quickly as possible so that they can then get that fee and put it into marketing to get new clients, because it's a trough. It's a huge pig trough, and they try and fill it with as many shit investors, naive people, and people who trade on fear and greed as possible so that they can liquidate you and take your money. And my advice to anyone is you'll never be able to trust a broker, no matter which broker it is, and no matter what rules they say they've got put in place, no matter which clearing firm they use, you'll never be able to trust one. Thankfully, in most jurisdictions, there is a protected amount of money in shares and a protected amount of money in cash that will be guaranteed by the government in your area with most brokers. And as such, that it's a good idea to split your shares between various brokerages, and then those that are most likely to keep both buy and sell buttons online all the
Okay.
time. Thanks so
Well,
much. Is what
there's
else
a
would?
saying.
Mhm.
There's a saying. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
Oh, you're very right there. Also, that's a great way of investing, isn't it? To have your eggs in many baskets. I think they call it the granny technique. You
Oh,
get a number
okay.
of different baskets just in case you drop one or two, because grannies are prone to dropping things apparently, though mine never was.
Right. Now, you mentioned DRS, direct registration of shares. That is putting shares under your name. That is taking shares away from the DTCC. So it's no longer registered with the DTCC. It is registering shares under Jamie's name, under Rocky's name, under Andy's name.
King Ape Andy.
So effectively, we're taking shares away from the float. How many shares are there in GME printed? 80 million or
75 million, give or take, excluding those held in the treasury.
right. So assuming retail DRS, as time goes on, in a couple of months, maybe the tradable float would be down to 2 million, 3 million, 1 million, less than that. That reminds me of the VW squeeze because all the shares were taken away by Porsche, by the German government. That's why the VW squeeze came into being. So maybe DRS is the way to do it. I'm not sure. I mean, when I tweet about DRS, when I make video about DRS, I get shows attacking me who says, hey, Bandy, DRS, it's going to take weeks to sell. You're going to make me miss my MOASS. But think, if you don't DRS to trigger the MOASS, then when will be the MOASS for you to sell? It's like catch 22. It's like who comes first, the egg or the chicken? The chicken or the egg?
Yeah, the answer is the pterodactyl, and let's be that fucking pterodactyl. DRS, register the shares in your own name, reduce the float. We already own the float and the company many times over, but we don't have the real shares out of the DTC's ledger. And anyone who criticizes you is likely a fool who, by Act 3, will be poking their own eyes out, Andy. It's great to look at and watch and laugh at these people make the mistakes as they do. It's half the satisfaction from the job. But you're right, registration, direct registration. What came first, the pterodactyl? We take those shares from the DTC and we put them somewhere else. They might say, yes, but it takes too long to sell them. Well, there's various ways of getting them to direct registration. And despite people saying these sort of things, what they might not understand is that in a very many, perhaps the majority of countries in the world, if you own over a certain value of shares, they have to be directly registered and reported publicly. And so it's not, yes. And so the idea that, whoa, you're putting in a computer share, so you'll not be able to sell your shares. Well, those people who live in some of the most profitable, well-advanced, socially justice countries in the world, who have hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars worth of shares, they have to directly register their shares. And do you think they don't believe in or aren't going to be able to exploit MOASS for their own good? That would be a very silly thing to say. And so, do you have to put all your shares into DRS? No, you don't have to. But will it help MOASS? Every single one that arrives there, definitely.
Right. Think of it this way, Jamie. Jamie, you own a car, and the car has a car plate. Rocky owns a car, the car has a car plate. Andy owns a car, the car has a car plate. Your mom and dad owns each a car, and they have a car plate. How many cars is that? One, two, three, four, five. So there are 5 car plates. Jamie, Rocky, Rocky's mom and dad, and Andy. Okay, there are 5 cars with 5 car plates. Now, a guy comes along, Big C, and takes the car plate and photocopies it, and sells the photocopied car plates. And those people who buy the photocopied car plates thinks, I have a car. Hey, I have a car. I have a car. But no, those are not real car plates. Those are photocopies of car plates. You see the analogy?
I do, yeah. And a photocopied car really doesn't have that much mileage. You can't get that much mileage out of it.
But it's quick to sell. I can, because the photocopied car plates is at a broker. I could sell it very quickly at a buy button, sell button. I could sell the photocopied car plates. But
another consideration, Andy, is that at that point when you go to sell those fake shares, those shares that the DTC and its prime brokers and its brokers and those members who are being liquidated unless they acquire real shares, they'll know not prioritize the shares which aren't real in an environment and a situation which has never happened before. Because although there are comparisons with VW, there's never been so many synthetic shorts. And to distinguish which ones are which is possible if you sit on the other side of the curtain. It's just here when you can't necessarily tell if you're, especially when there's not being a dividend given out, if your share is real or not. And as such, the only way to guarantee you have those shares which are desperately in demand above all others, is to ensure that they are directly registered.
Yes. Jamie, you mentioned one very important thing, dividend. Now, two things, this is my personal opinion. Two things could trigger MOASS. Ryan Cohen issuing an NFT, which is a crypto dividend, that will trigger MOASS. Enough retail DRS, and DRS so that the float is reduced to almost nil. Because when the float is reduced to almost nil, and long comes 1 million volume, 3 million volume, 2 million volume, you know what that does to the volatility, right, Jamie? You know that. So, so there are two things that could trigger MOASS, in my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Ryan Cohen's NFT dividend trigger MOASS, or retail doing enough DRS, reducing the float to somewhat below the VW squeeze tradable float. That will trigger MOASS. So now, Jamie, let me ask you, can you or Andy decide on the decision, the executive management decision for NFT dividend? You can't. That is in Ryan Cohen's hand, not in ours, not in yours, not in mine. So, what is in our hand, Jamie? DRS is in our hands. It is your decision to DRS your shares or not. It is my decision to DRS my shares or not. However, it is not Jamie's decision. It is not Andy's decision. It is not Rocky's decision to do NFT dividend. That is in the hands of the members of the board, right? That is not in our hands.
This
We
is
could
true.
wait.
I also like to think about the NFT dividend idea with lots of other potential possibilities open to consideration. So, for example, the way in which the NFT dividend has been understood or the narrative has been explained is most commonly heard or lands on the ears in a similar fashion to what happened with Overstock. But it may well be that this implementation, should there be one, is slightly different in that we can see from the documents that GameStop have released along partly during their last two corporate meetings, the AGM and the previous meeting with the share issue, that they talked about the potential in future to release dividends, or if not dividends, a security that was attached in some way to share ownership, which was deposited in a window in a form that would circumvent many of the rules and regulations that might have prevented them from issuing a crypto or a dividend a la Overstock. So there was like a way around it, so to speak, I think, from the documents they released. I think that was quite clear. And I think that a lot of people missed it. I also think that there's a huge existential consideration that GameStop themselves have been very public about with regards to the second-hand game market and how that is very important to their core business model. And it may well be that they go in any implementation from a direct dividend that's distributed by GameStop via their proxy solicitors and is allowed for all shareholders to claim should they have real shares. Or it may be an implementation of it that is similar to AMC allowing shareholders to have free popcorn, in that allows you access to a code or a route into this closed market, which then, instead of being an existential weakness to GameStop's business model, the threat to the second-hand game market instead becomes a strength to their overall future and how they pursue increasing revenue and delivering increased market share. And I think that that's the future, because nobody wants another gaming client on their computer, and the idea that you can run the world through selling games online is, I think we've figured out that that's not true. Andy, sorry.
You mentioned the document. That's the prospectus, right? That's the prospectus that's been issued by GameStop. Yes, they're leaving the option of dividend inside the prospectus, correct? Yes. Okay. So that is an option that they could use, right? Dividend. It could be NFT, it could be cash, it could be, we don't know. But inside the prospectus of GME, we're seeing it black and white written. It is an option that the company could use. Now, Jamie, if I put you at the helm of GameStop, if you were in Ryan Cohen, if you're Ryan Cohen now, you're chairman of the board of GameStop, would you issue the NFT crypto dividend now to satisfy the retail, or would you not do it and just make the company profitable, so that the company has a long-term path into S&P 500? Which path would you choose? Would you do a very speculative move just to satisfy the retail? MOASS. Okay, I'm Ryan Cohen. I gave retail the MOASS. So, retail, you're going to love me more. Or would you, in Ryan Cohen's chairman of the board office, sitting there, or would you care more about the long term growth of the company? I don't want to do any speculative moves like overstock. I would keep that option, NFT dividend option, in my hand, in my pocket, in my as a nuke button, so that if one day Big C shorts me down back down to $5, $4, $3, I could nuke them. But now that the share price is where it is now, would you care more about the long-term growth of the company, or would you do a MOAS to satisfy the apes?
Answer, Andy, is very obvious and very clear to me. First off, um, you say, what would you do if you were the chairman of the board or in Ryan Cohen's position? And it seems like a facetious question, but in fact, it's deadly serious, and it stirs within me the most serious of moods. If I was running GameStop, it would be not just my one trick pony, my shot in the dark, my flash of brilliance that I'd want to shine. It would be to show the world that I was the best chairman of the best company in the world. And as you point out, you draw the analogy with a WMD, right? A nuclear device. That is what you would do when you have a strategic weapon. You don't use it and lose it. You save it so that you can dominate those people who try to control you or the share price of your company. And then you put in, as you say, the serious work to do a good job, to grow the company, and to provide value for your shareholders and all stakeholders. And I
Right.
would do it in that way. I'd push my enemy to the brink. I'd get them to the point where they were begging me to allow them to chop their own head off. And I still wouldn't use my nuclear weapon. You can
Correct.
push people over the edge without actually touching them. And I think that that's the serious answer, even though the question again was hypothetical, though we are dealing in hypotheticals, aren't we?
But it's a very serious question. Now, Jamie, if you had a nuke weapon and you are trying to nuke Ape Andy, and we are so close in proximity, do you think that nuke weapon would only hurt Ape Andy, or would it hurt yourself too?
Well, of course, depending on the payload, but you would expect there'd be a certain fallout, and that no one would escape. Why would you want to destroy your own environment, right? It's like the all a rising tide lifts all ships. We just need to take out those bad actors, destroy the cancer. We don't need to kill all the good cells around it.
Right. So what I'm saying is, yes, NFT crypto dividend is doable, is an option, but in the real world, with a real Ryan Cohen and with the real members of the board and Matt Furlong, CEO, and everybody, do you think they would do it? Or would they go after long-term growth of the company? Because they're just one step away from S&P 500. They're already in S&P 400. Okay. Um, do you want your company to go shine and then go dark again, or would you want your company to grow like Tesla?
Like Tesla, but
Yeah.
they're better than a gigapress. You've got a rocket ship in your back pocket, and if anybody ever does push you, you can raise the floor at will. I mean, what other company has something like that in their back pocket? I'm not
Right.
sure.
Right, Jamie. That said, am I disappointing the apes with the no NFT dividend talk? I'm just telling the retail what to expect in the real world. Now, speaking of the real world, Jamie, I would like to point something out further. Once GameStop's earnings report turns positive for the quarter, do you think the institutional investors would still sit on the sidelines and watch the stock saying, ah, that's a meme stock. Those are for retail. Those are for meme people. The institutional investors will jump in once GameStop's earnings report, quarterly report turns positive, because that means this company is on the right path. Why? Because this company has got Chewy people in it. This company has got Amazon people in it. Those are the people that does real work growing the company. It's no longer a meme stock once the quarterly report turns positive. And if you have 4 quarters positive, according to companies' um, regulations, I think if you have 4 quarters being positive, that's the time all the members of the board says, I think it's time to issue a dividend. But we don't know if that dividend will be cash or NFT or I don't know.
Exactly, yes, and it's normally announced, the record date for that dividend would normally be announced at the annual general meeting, but there are many occasions and
Yes,
the opportunity to do a special dividend off the back of a special meeting, so they don't even need to
right,
wait. And which is
right.
great news for us and does add to the optimism that we perhaps depress by pointing out these realistic considerations from a CEO's perspective. And it's great to talk about those things. People need to know the things that can keep them happy and sad, because it's better to know now ahead of the event than have your expectations dashed at the time. And to manage your own
Right.
psychology is important. So I think it's brilliant.
So,
And that's one of the most amazing features and benefits that people get from viewing Ape Andy, is that they will have their future expectations managed in a very positive and sensible way.
Jamie, you're flattering me. I'm nothing compared to you. Now, what I want to do is mention one more thing about positive earnings report. Um, did you know why the past earnings report, whenever the earnings report came out, the price of GME went as if it had a short attack? Because the earnings report wasn't positive. Yes, the company has a bright future, but its quarterly earnings weren't positive. So the institutional investor says, okay, we're going to wait 1 more quarter. And if the long institutional investors says, we're going to wait 1 more quarter, that's the time the short institutional investor says, the longs are not going to go against us. We go all in and short. That's why the past earnings report was like hope, 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 hopium, hopium, hopium. Earnings report negative, went down. Because once the earnings report are out and it's negative for that quarter, for that past quarter, institutional investor says, okay, fine, great company, great future, but that was a negative earnings report for that quarter, so we're going to wait 1 more quarter. So the long decided to wait. So the shorts went all in. I'm just explaining what happened.
Anticipated, I would suspect, by the board, who themselves had to, in the run up to that event and a little bit afterwards, had to distribute shares to the new C suite executives and had other areas and other reasons for keeping the price stable and not volatile. Partly because they were approaching S&P 500 inclusion, in which case you need to have a sensible approach. Your board need to be adjudicated by committee, and it needs to look like you're there for the best interest of the economy at large. And so there's these considerations and run up to that event. Then on the event itself, if you've experience of constructing or analyzing these documents, you'll be able to look at these. And despite me not claiming it to be my main forte, it seems that most fundamental analysts have completely overlooked the construction of the accounts that show GameStop hit their revenue targets, but organized their cost bases in such a way as to not necessarily add to their profit level. And as such, weren't able to distribute a dividend entirely because of their own efforts and their own accounting practices. This is in the worst quarter historically for the companies in that industry and themselves in particular, and ahead of their best quarter likely in the history of that company and for these companies in the run up to and including Christmas. So there's every reason for the share price to be depressed afterwards, and no particular logic to suggest that it should have immediately jumped up because of the way those accounts were produced and presented, which I think you can add to with the nature of the presentation, the way the CEO delivered the message, and the curt, concise nature of that whole event. I think that speaks volumes. And if we are looking for a volume stat that matters, then I'd say
Right.
the silence in this front is revealing.
Right. Jamie, I got 5 more minutes. I gotta go tuck my daughter to bed. 5 more minutes. Now, I want to point something out.
I think I
Think
just
again.
lost your microphone, Andy, a little bit
Um,
there.
could you still hear me?
I can't hear you
Yeah?
right now.
Let me try again.
Oh, it's coming and going.
Hear me now.
It's coming and going. It's away again.
So, are you reading me? Oh
This
my
is
God,
like
Jamie.
silent TA,
Silent
but
TA? Oh
without.
my God, Jamie, you're losing me. Let me try again.
Here, you're back there. Oh, and it sounds
Can
like
you hear
you've
me?
gone. You're back-ish. Are you there? Say
Okay.
so. Okay, you are.
Right. Okay. I gotta go tuck my daughter to bed, so I've got 5 more minutes to talk to you and your viewers, our viewers. Right. Think, would Ryan Cohen issue a crypto dividend to do a MOASS just to satisfy the retail? Think this way, would Tim Cook issue a crypto dividend and do an Apple MOASS to satisfy his shareholders? Would Bill Huang of NVIDIA do a crypto dividend and do an NVIDIA MOASS to satisfy his shareholders? Or would Elon Musk do a crypto dividend and satisfy his Tesla shareholders? Um, we've got to think in terms of the real world, and because GameStop is only a step away from S&P 500. Once GameStop turns in positive quarterly earnings report for 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, 4 quarters, it's got to go into the S&P 500. It's got to go into the S&P 500 with inclusions, and it's going to get voted. The way that S&P 500 gets included for a company doesn't work exactly like Russell 2000 coming into Russell 1000, where if you make the criteria, you go in directly. They have to vote. I like GameStop. Do you like GameStop? Oh, you don't. I like GameStop. Do you like GameStop? Oh, yes, you do. So that's 3 vote against 1. GameStop gets included into S&P 500. It's not only that you have to make the criteria, you have to make people like you. Now, would those Wall Street people like a company that did MOASS, speculative thing like MOASS?
I mean, it's going to be on your fund. Also, the way these funds themselves are managed is they have risk corridors, they have purchasing powers per asset, and then they have fund managers who make decisions based on what asset to hold at what time. And if they have an asset in a fund with the volatility, they'll outstrip the entirety of all other assets put together. And then it's going to cause them problems that they don't need because they're investors. They're only looking for 10, 20%. They're not there
Right.
to do a job to manage MOASS. In fact, they'd want to avoid being part of that explosion, many of them. So if they can see a profitable long-term value play, they'll be
Yeah.
in MOASS anyway. But they're not going to just take a crazy punt on a crazy CEO.
Right. So Ryan Cohen doesn't want to sound crazy or look crazy. Now, I got 2 more minutes to 3 more minutes left. Look, am I saying that, hey, retail, don't hope for MOAS? No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the MOAS will not come from the nuke bomb of crypto NFT dividend, but the MOAS will come from apes and retail doing DRS so that the float is reduced to a very minuscule tradable float. And then the company turns in positive quarterly earnings report. You know what happens after that? That's the time the institutional investors would jump in with 1 million volume, 2 million volume, 3 million volume. And by that time, if the retail are ready with DRS, see, now when the earnings report is not positive, but we DRS, we DRS, we DRS, we DRS, and we rinse, 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 rinse till it's very tight. And then when the earnings report becomes positive, institutional investors jump in with 3 million volume. And then State Street jumps in with 3 million volume. And then Um, Other institutional investors jump in with 3 million volume. That is MOASS. Institutional investors, big volume with very little tradable float, that is MOASS. So what I'm saying is MOASS is in the hands of the retail. If retail makes the condition ripe for MOASS with very, very little tradable float due to DRS, by the time Ryan Cohen and the company do their job, making the company turn out a positive quarterly earnings, then those big institutional investors sitting on the sidelines would come in with millions and millions and millions of volume going long. That fact, plus the tradable float, very, very, very minuscule due to DRS. So many circumstances, so many factors have to be ripe for MOASS. It's not just one thing for MOASS. It's not just
Exactly. And if we can catch that sensible wave at the same time as we can say we've registered so much shares, the liquidity is so small, CAT systems coming online, there's new regulations people have to comply with, we can track them, the liquidity is smaller, the volume could then pick up and cause crazy price movements. And if you're a fund manager and you're sitting on whether it be a small institutional member or a large institutional member, you're not going to want to be sitting there subject to that kind of damage that stock could do if it exploded, if you've not got a hedge, and the only hedge is to hold it. So people will be in a position of saying, do we preserve our current holdings by holding GME? And
right,
what's the upside, what's the downside? And the downside by not holding it is an existential concern at that point. And the upside
right,
by holding it is it's at least a hedge.
right. Jamie, one more thing. Whenever I talk about DRS, people attack me saying, Ape Andy, that is collusion. Well, is buy and hold collusion? Of course, people who watch us make their own individual minds. We're not collective groups. Our viewers are not collective groups. We're all individuals. You could sell GME and we cannot do anything about it. You could buy other meme stock and not buy GME, just hold on to it. There's nothing we could do about it. There's no collusion. Viewers make up their own individual minds on what to do after watching your video and my video. There's no collusion.
They even made up their mind ages ago. I mean, what we're really doing here is illuminating the situation.
The facts.
Yeah, the facts.
The situation.
Because the truth is, as you and I know from our own professional experience and from our observing from our own perspective of what's happened with GameStop, that there are people out there who will obscure the facts and who will tell things slightly differently from they are. And it takes people like yourself to communicate in a way with people who'll understand what's actually going on. And credit to you for doing it, Andy. You're a hero, you're a legend, you're an angel, you're an amazing friend.
You are.
You say nice things about me all the time, but you really deserve them. And you're a really nice guy. And I appreciate your friendship so much.
Jamie, one more thing before I let you go.
Ah, shit. Andy, your microphone.
Yes, can you hear me?
See, you were going to go on and say something about me, but nice about me, but your microphone is too modest and won't let you. You're back. You're back. You're back.
Hear me.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one more thing before I let you go. It is okay to buy and hold GME. It is okay, Jamie. You have to tell your viewers this. It is okay to also like other stocks. Because some apes are like, if you're not 100% GME, you're not loyal to GME, then you're not a good ape. No, as long as you have GME in your portfolio, no matter how much the percentage, and if you buy and hold, of course, better if you DRS, you're a good ape, right? There's no such thing as good apes, bad apes. Okay. If you like AMC more, then you're not a good ape. No. It's okay to like AMC and GME. It is okay to like other meme stock, as long as GME is part of it, as long as AMC is part of it. It's even okay if you watch our video and you don't hold any GME, because in the future you will.
It's totally okay, because exactly, and I say it's the greatest story ever told about the greatest show we'll ever see. It's the truth. There'll never be anything again like it, and you'll be able to say in future, I was there, even if you don't hold any, though you should get one or two. And if you have got a problem with people who trade other stocks, then you probably are just a little bit naive, and that's fine. but you'll come to learn over time that the world is full of bastards and institutions that have controlled the world before you were born, and there are various ways of fighting back, little pins that you can stick in this beast to move a fat ass off the sofa. And trading other assets sometimes allows you to accumulate wealth that you can put into GME, which is certainly what the likes of you and I have been doing.
Yes.
Thank you so
All
much
the viewers,
for joining me.
Jamie is the best. Tradespotting is the best. Can you hear me?
Andy, your microphone just went off at the end of the sentence, which is probably because he was going to say something nice about me, which he's already said too many nice things about me since the beginning. Andy, I love you. You, Andy, you're the hero. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate your friendship, brother. You're back. Yes.
Let's do this more often next time. Yeah. Tradespotting is the best ever.
I love you, Andy. Good night.
And Rocky as well. I love
and Rocky. I love you, Andy. Good night, Andy.
Okay.
Thanks.
We'll do this soon. Thanks. Love you, viewers. Love you, Ape Andy loves all the viewers, lady apes and gentlemen apes. Ape Andy loves you. And Ape Jamie. And Ape Jamie.
Thanks, Andy. Sweet dreams.
Thank you.
Bing bong. Right, so that was Andy. Am I back on the screen here? Let me get to the chat camera. That's not it. Is this it? No, but it will be soon. Video capture device. Let me just load it up. If this was faster, I'd be happier. And have I got my audio? I do at least have the audio. But the video, my friend, I do not have yet. Let me close this. Reload this. And in the meantime, actually, I could go here and then at least we've got some chart to look at. This is something, even though it's a little bit off the screen. Ape Andy is how I first heard of Tradespotting as well. Yo, Bodie Bear. He's a legend, isn't he? He's an absolute legend. I love Ape Andy. I don't know how any of that went, if you were able to hear it, if you were able to hear Andy okay. I'm not sure how any of it went, but please do let me know what you thought of it, and I'll get myself and the charts back up momentarily. Hey, a new member. Thank you so much, Jordan. Oh my goodness, the ghostly spirit of Luke Spears. What are you doing out of bed at this time, Luke? Bam! Thank you so much, Luke. It's really appreciated. There's a huge donation. It's a shame, everybody else. Why is my GoPro not going on? I'm not entirely sure. Tradespotting is how it went great. Thanks, Jason Guy. Excellent. We got it all. Perfection. Awesome. Thank goodness. That's brilliant. We could hear him the whole time. Yes! Thanks, Nathan. Fucking awesome. Andy was very good, I should point out. Andy was very good to wait for me because I was supposed to be on with him hours before I was able to manage it, and he was very patient despite his being later where he is in the middle of the night by the time he got on. Jamie is my brother. Thank you for introducing me to Ape Andy Tradespotting. You're welcome, Rocky. Thanks for that donation, you little legend, yeah. Stop donating money, Rocky. You little poor porridge eater, yeah. Just dead nice of you. Thanks. And look before you. Thanks. And I think I saw another donation come up before this. And where was it? Let me see. It was the Ghost of Wolfric. Ape Andy turned me on to Tradespotting. So grateful. Legend. Thanks, Wolfric. Ape Andy's such a great guy. I absolutely love Ape Andy. Pam the Priller. Holy shit. Appreciate you both. $49.99. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Pam. Rocky beforehand, $20, bananafridge.com and bananafridgeextendedwarranty.com. These are the only two sites that you should ever have any sort of real emotional attachment to on the internet. Texas Tanker, $49.99. I love this conversation. Thank you, Texas. Thank you. Thank you, Texas, all around. Okay, that's all I've got fitting on my screen there, so maybe there isn't anything else. That was great. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in, being so friendly. I can do more TA now. I can touch on other things if you'd like. I'll finish up that conversation with the little details and any gaps that I might have left in from a conversation with Andy, if that would suit you. Let me just see if I can get my... If I can get my camera working. Please pardon me. Yes, there we are. Finally, we're back. And is this the right? It is. And it's like, that's a little bit squishy, but we are on. Okay, now I probably did do TA as well this way. Right, probably. What do you mean, probably, Jamie? Of course you could do the TA. Where is it? Here we are. I don't know why everything went so massive. So what would you like me to do? Shall I do the TA on the GME as we're here? It was an impromptu video that we were thinking, Andy and I, we would record and then put on, but then, you know, it's very familiar with each other, and there was no real need to record it. I don't point getting a timer up now. We're that far into the video anyway. That's that chat screen and so on. And if I take us into the charts, I can see the conversations as they're happening and on the screen do the charting. Right, well, I'm not going to use that camera. And nor are we going to have freeze cam on. That was great talk with Andy. Thanks, where's James? How are you doing, buddy? It was interesting to cover some points because people ask me about DRS and what do I think about it all the time, you know, and it's fine having the conversation with the chat box and me saying the same stuff to the computer all the time, but then I also don't know if anyone's serious anymore because I've been asked about it so often. And so anyone who don't know my opinion will now have a clearer shot on it. Plus, the same can be said for the dividend discussions, and then cats, which people don't really talk about because it's kind of boring, but is like really interesting and is as important, I think, as the DRS. Like one without the other, I'm not sure if it would be that effective in our particular case. So it was good to cover those topics. And a few better people to cover them with. So this is everything fitting on the screen now. I think that's like reasonable size so you can see what's going on, especially if I'm just talking about price action, no indicators, right? That works okay. And now I'll get a video on so you know that it's really moi here, even if it isn't the best video for being behind the chart. Behind the chart. Cheers, man. It's the cheers. I love my cheers. Do you like my cheers? Alrighty. Hey, that could be worse, right? I can even fucking, like, look. I can even just stick that up there out of the way. Stick me over here. Right. We're friends again now, you and I. Is this everything? Have I got everything? I think I have. I think I've done everything. I think we've done it, guys. I think we've done it. I think I can even move. Okay, right. Could even do this. Look. Got it. Fuck yeah. And then sugar my boogers. How many people? 234. So we've got similar people watching now as we had when I was chatting with Andy. It's just more than I'd normally have watching, but also people may be now frustrated because I'm not doing what they're looking for. So pardon me if that's the case. Aye. Is these warnings? Am I doing things wrong? No, everything's good. Andy being nice now in text messages. What a legend he is. The guy's so nice, eh? And he sends you texts afterwards being dead nice all the time. He's always like so nice. He's like such a good guy. He really is. Blessed to know him. Right, so there's me on the screen. There's the charts on the screen. There's the ticker. There's the time frame. There's everything. There's even fucking that chart's got like that's not real. That's from like Friday. Plus then Pam and Luke and Rocky and Wilfric. Still, tis what it is. I was wearing my GME shirt yesterday for good luck. It's working so far. Yeah. GME, you've got the perfect GME wardrobe, Pam. Although I don't know if it's perfect because I haven't seen enough of those bing bongs. Right. Speaking of the bing bongs, you know, you know what I'm going to say next. Don't visit unreasonable.shop. This is not the way. Okay, right, so we're a little bit clearer, and those lights even somehow work on this background. Love is genuine, non-stop positivity. Ape Andy rocks. Yeah, he is so positive, even when shit in his life is like really tough. No, and I talked to him, and I don't know if he said it on the internet, on the videos or not at the time, but like shit was tough for Andy for a while. He's always got a smile on his face. Tradespotting, sorry, was listening and washing dishes. Cannot type with wet fingers. Just a chick from Florida. You don't have to say sorry. Washing dishes, huh? There is it. It's my favourite hobby. What, just from Florida there? That's my... I love washing dishes. Wow, is there anything better than that, huh? No, there isn't. Washing dishes, brilliant. You did that. That's nice. Thank you for doing that, Space Monkey. It's appreciated. Druce all, there you are. Observe myself, you legend. Wait, Buckets, need more Ape Andy audiobooks. Yeah, need a lot of Ape Andy products, I think. TA says, Bait Buckets. Okay, we shall do it. We shall do it. After I get a cup of tea. Sorry, I know I shouldn't have done that, eh? Well, here's a 1 minute chart. It's GME, it's at 187.34. It's dead fucking interested at the minute, as it happens. If you want to compare it to any other minute in any recent time frame, it's a very positive one. So I'll extend it out and have a little bit of a look at that. Obviously, we've retraced since we hit that line. It's not my fault. I don't draw these lines so that it looks bad. I draw it so that it looks good to help people. So you go. Expectations managed. Consider it done successfully again. Sending love and energy from LA to you and Rocky. Fun weekend. I love that LA love and energy. Also think, wow, oh my goodness, what you doing out of bed, you trooper. I was trying to put shows on later, thinking I'd get more of the old West Coast audience, but West Coastonians. But these are all, when you do get out of bed, these are all skateboarding in your neighbour's pools or something. These are never on the computer until night time. So thank you very much for being here, Devin. That's a cool name, Devin. Right, so 187.82. And price action has been as high as 188. There you go, right up at why the line was in that area. We have broken its previous horizontal on that front. She's more nice people being nice to me. Aye. So you would look at this left here, right? You see it when you look at this here, look left, and you say, let's say, imagine, like, wonder if this will be important. You drop, like, little line on that, and you're like, oh, look at that. It's exactly where this one came up to. Who would have dunk it had it broken this horizontal where the body closed, body closed? And itself is the body close on the 1 minute with these wicks above to its previous wick high. And history doesn't necessarily repeat, but as Rocky say, it rhymes, or as I say, history is a prologue. It's a prologue. So this is an important level, looking left horizontally. It's not just like this previous high that we dropped the line on for. It already done it once, twice, 3 times, like, so that's the 4th time, and 3 times gives it significance, 4 times makes it weaker. Repeatedly hitting it only does it damage, right, like anything else. And especially if those highs are higher, right? So you see how price action here reached a peak. This one went beyond that peak, okay? That suggests that those people holding the shares here are still holding it here, right? Accumulation is forcing prices higher, and that is the speculation that's driving new purchases. It's also making people hold with the higher highs, right? This is Wyckoff. And if you were to flip it around the other direction, it would be distribution, but it's not. It's this way, and it's accumulation. You come up again, if you make a consecutive higher high, which would be very unusual because it doesn't even need to be, in order to be bullish, it only ever needed to make it to the body close here. But it's done that again on another test. So even if it is a little bit divergent, I'd give it like an extra consideration. And there you go, zooming in on the 1 minute time frame. Well, it's not, right? I mean, sure it is to its previous push past, but it's broken out of that range now, and we'll look at that on higher time frames and maybe get a better picture of where Things are going there in the 5 minute. You can see you're very much extended into the overbought zone. It's at the very same area you turned around when you were here, your second most recent time. And I do like those legs behind me. Though I don't like this camera angle. They breaking that horizontal, pushing up, putting in a higher high, be very impressive at this stage. There's absolutely no need to do it, but I do think that it's going to do it over a long period of time. We're at 15 minutes, like getting out of the short period. So you see exactly what I think. It's all drawn on the chart, but looking left, it's breaking the 382, heading for the 0.5. Did get close or right on it, really. And then the next stage is the 618 to the 0.65 golden pocket, and that is where things are definitively different when you speak about the retracement and its relationship to the previous trend. So looking to see price action head there. That is higher than our previous highs. It would be a continuation of this broadening channel. Rocky loves a broadening channel. Ha, jokes, just say that 195 is what you're aiming for. Anything above that would be very positive to get that by the end of the day. Whoop-de-doop-de, that would be lovely jubbly. Price action heading back to the 200 zone will scare the fucking shit out of people, right? Because a lot of people don't have any idea what's going on with price action, right? They're just lucky. Those people who get anywhere on either side of most trades are just lucky. They don't know what they're doing. And they got stupid ideas like, it's below 200, like that means something. Like that means literally nothing, right? But they'll be like, it means something, you know. And it's only because you'll defeat those people that it then gives it meaning, being back above 200 again. But it in itself as a number means nothing. So it's great the way to see them get scared. And they kick their pants when prices will hit 200 again and go above it, because they think, but why? Because it fell below it. So why would it now be back above it? Didn't we prove something? They think that it proves something. You know, they don't understand the concept of horizontal support and resistance. They think instead, and they entirely believe consciously in this idea of psychological support and resistance. And they like commit to that in an argument in that. And as well, even though if they were to actually think about it, they'd prove themselves stupid. So I don't know, right? Anyway, think about it. Well, it's funny to be honest, but respect first, laughs later. Yay, what we like. That's cool. I like that mentality. That's nice and positive, Rocky. You're a very respectful chap. So there's measured moves on either side of what was the previous formation. Top side of it takes you up in around that $200. If we were to drop back down and test previous support 166, it would be a test of this wedge. It's horizontal, and that would be fine. It's just you've put in such positive price action since. It doesn't look like there's any need for it. And we're only on the 15-minute, but that was a very positive accumulation in higher section of the bearish control zone, 15 minutes there, and also a nice positive reaction in inverted head and shoulders and recovery above the center line of the RSI. Very strong, positive at the same time on our DMI taking over the ADX and the positive momentum building up. So like on the smaller time frames, suggests that this is a true strength to this move. It's positive, not divergent, and in line with the previous trend. 1 hour, you can't see much for the wood for the trees. Turn that off. Putting in what looks to be an ascending triangle. Move straight forward. I'll put the drawings back on. Come across the top there. You can see I've already got it drawn on, in fact. This in a slightly different way. And measured move, that is it there. This is this measured move from the low to the high at the start. And the breakout of it would take you up there, like we say, to those $200. 195 to 205 is a liquidity zone. It looks very good. There will be people who treat it like psychological resistance and support, and that matters at the time. And that's interesting for them. But we, as Doomslayers, have been buying at support, not resistance. So we'll be chuckling about how the fact that we're up more there. And as they kick their pants, AMC, my lord, you certainly will. I will do AMC too. I've not even really done GME properly. I was going to go and make myself a cup of tea because I just got off from the Ape Andy thing. And the truth is, the technical difficulties before that, I was working for a couple of hours just to get the stream on. So I haven't had a cup of tea or nothing yet today, and it's 10 to 5. So I'm going to have a cup of tea, and I'm going to leave you with a 1 minute chart and hope to goodness everybody doesn't disappear. And but then, you will, because like whatever. I shouldn't even have mentioned it. I should have just put my voice on repeat so that people didn't notice. Sample myself. And then just say a loop of me doing the TA all day, every day, till the end of days. To learn more about measure moves, check out the comment section of Rocky Outcrop stream for this morning for a clip about it. Freaking rightio. Measured moves and learning about them. the extent of one, what I haven't seen Rocky's show, but I imagine he'll talk about where it's appropriate to use them and where is stupid. He'll talk about the likelihood of you getting the full measured move or a chunk of it, and at what point you'd look for it. He probably compares it also to fake out breakout zones and going beyond important levels of support and resistance. And whether he's done it explicitly or not, he'll have given you an idea about the differences across time frames and how to apply it to your TA. I can't imagine anyone better to have done that, and if he did, he was freaking lucky. Check it out. While I make a cup of tea, please don't disappear. It's super interesting people in chat there. Probably as interesting as me. Most of them are, even more so. Talk to them. I'm going to make a cup of tea. Please don't disappear, EJs. I'm going to turn the camera off because you'll think that I've looked, where's Jimmy gone? People turning up that aren't here already. Anyway, shut up, Jimmy. Bing bong. We'll wait for you. Haha, you will. Thanks. Within the tea room. I need to get the tea room, eh? I need to get I should have the whole. It should be Ed TV over here, and you could be able to see me go for a cup of tea. It's just going for the cup of tea. It's not like I'm taking a break from the charts or that. Tradespotting, what? Proud of you with the discipline to hold off on the stimulus beverage of. Shit, you were proud of me. I didn't have a choice or a time, eh? Man, if I had a time, I would have had 10 of them. Back in a moment. Hello, hello, hello. Wow, 200 people still here. Thanks so much. I imagine most of you have got a little bit frustrated with the time I'm taking it. I apologise very, very much. I shall be back on in 2 seconds. As long as I get... There we are. I'm back. Yes, excellent. So, just as a quick recap of where we've been there and the conversation with Andy, we talked about many of the topics that I would have discussed with you guys on the live show before, but might not have been distinguished with their titles. And Rocky, very similarly, would have discussed some of them too, but you might not have noticed them or found them because they weren't identified as such. And those things are direct registration, that which people ask me about more commonly than anything else, to the point that I'm sure now you're all joking. Whether or not it's positive, it's a scam, it'll help the squeeze, it'll harm it, whether or not you'll be able to sell your shares if you direct register them or not, and all other sorts of FUD that people have been putting out there. And it is FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, mostly based on their assumptions or incorrect understandings, which is fine because it's a broad and complex topic, finance. So if you just approach it with a narcissistic sense of entitlement and understanding, you're likely to not be aware of your own ignorances. That is, of course, the nature of ignorance. And there are so many YouTubers that don't understand those things they don't know, and unfortunately put across a negative message. Whether they intend to or not isn't really important. It's not their intentions that matter, it's the consequences of their actions, and they should pull their head out of their arse and stop doing it. But who am I to tell them what to do? They who have so many viewers and so much more interest than people who tell you the way it is. And I do tell you the way it is. So DRS, will it help? Yes, it will. Does it have to be all your shares? No, it doesn't. Will it stop you selling them? No. Will it delay it? Maybe a little bit. Does that really matter? Not when those people who own hundreds of thousands of shares in countries all across the world have to direct register their shares anyway due to regulations. And do you think they're not going to be able to play the squeeze or take advantage of it? And in which case, why do you think they own so many shares? That would be stupid, right? It would be illogical to even take part if it disqualified you from taking advantage of it. So that's an inherently illogical argument. And you, although you might not be experienced in registering shares or selling them or doing it directly, doing it with computer share, doing it via your broker or some other one, which allows you to do that, many do. There are various ways in which you'll be able to sell those shares, and whether MOASS is going to be sorted out in 5 minutes or a month. I mean, what do you think's more likely? Sure, computers work quickly when they go around liquidating positions, but that doesn't necessarily correlate with how quickly they're able to close those trades. They can liquidate somebody who cannot meet their obligations, but that will happen as and when their collateral is expired in order to close that position. Doesn't mean that that close will happen instantly. There will be various people liquidated, various jumps in price, and a lot of time that people probably don't anticipate spent at very high levels. And just because MOASS happens, you're not going to be able to sell it like high frequency trading anyway, right? You're going to have to take time to analyze the charts, and there always is time for TA, whether that be 5 minutes or a couple of days. Well, if you get the luxury of being able to take longer at it while you wait for your shares to become sellable, then that's fine too. That's perfectly acceptable. As you can see in the background, prices here moving to those next levels we drew out at the time. The 50 period average was in around where it is now. It's up at price action. 200 is making its way to the 0.5 Fibonacci retrace from this most recent low to high, which is where price action likely goes, having gone beyond the 236. So 382, that'd be a very bullish retrace, even more so if it only makes it to the 50 period average. And same with the 200 there. That's the 1 minute time frame, and speaking to trend on those time frames is pretty bad technical, so I won't do predictions from it, only explain where we are. And further on that point, explaining things, why is direct registration important? Well, because it removes shares from the DTC. It removes it from their ledger, that ledger which holds those shares in perpetuity, even in advance of their dematerialization. And we cannot trust the DTC, nor can we trust the prime brokers or the downstream brokers. We don't know, and it would be naive to imagine that they haven't rehypothecated at least, if not far more than 140% of those shares, which of course has been to our advantage because it means that there are more shares, even those legitimately sold, than are available to buy back. So the more that we remove from the DTC's ledger, the better. There are various different clearing houses and different firms use different systems. There are different ways to make an impact along the same lines, some more effective than others, some that leave you with slightly longer periods in which you'll need to go through before you sell. But these are all good moves. And the idea isn't to boost ComputerShare, isn't to paralyze your account. It's simply to remove shares from the DTC as we cannot trust them. It happens at the same time as the new CAT system is being implemented. That system comes online and has been working. In truth, it's been working for the best part of 6 or 7 years. There have been bits of this in place, and compliance has matched up with them at a lot of larger major banks. And it's not all that different from a system Rocky and I would have worked under called OATS. But this CAT's consolidated audit trail does go slightly further in distinguishing between long trades, short longs, and long shorts. Now, it's a complicated system to explain, especially if you don't understand the nature of long being short and short being long, and the nature of how it is to trade risk as a market maker. But to cut to the chase, what it means is that there is a tighter restriction and a more clear oversight of which position each member within, say, for example, an organization like the DTC will have and present to each other. And so there's greater ability to manage your own liabilities with respect to other members of whom you and they each are responsible to each other, and underlying the system. And that system itself is full of conflicts of interest. So to shine a light for each member on their own risk allows them to be able to more efficiently manage their own systems and hopefully deliver fair markets. And that's the idea with CAS. That comes in all possible iterations, on all levels of compliance, goes live on the 13th of December 2021. That's when that happens. There has been little important dates, like, and there will be further in the mid to the end of November, when smaller institutional members of the DTCC and other organizations like them that trade on US markets need to comply. Those organizations with a capitalization of less than $0.5 million. But by the 13th of December, large institutional members have to comply with every trade on US markets. That includes GameStop. And if you go onto the charts and look at the 13th of December, let's say on the 2-day time frame here, I'll hit auto spread out a little bit, and you can see that in around those dates, I have this yellow vertical line on the chart. This is such an important line for a reason that has nothing to do with cats, but happens to come in around at nearly exactly the same time that that system will have its consequences working their way through the markets. And that line is in a family of lines which have told us the story of price action since the beginning of the squeeze. And when I say the beginning, I mean when it was at its all-time lows. From here, in the 30th of March 2020, it dictated its future trend after putting in its high on the 25th of January. Its subsequent low, an absolute perfect on-the-money turn. Its next high, similar. Its next low, its next high. And here we have the final line in that Fibonacci time zone coming in at exactly the same place you would expect a break of this overall formation that has been painted on the charts by price action. which itself represents the psychology of market participants. And that psychology is to buy and hold even when prices are skirting along all-time highs and in a zone where they've never been in the history of GameStop, and there's still consolidation at resistance, even with increasingly higher highs on smaller time frames across the board, showing you that each subsequent high represents further accumulation. So that's a very, very bullish psychology that's represented by this pattern we can see on the charts. That could be a number of different patterns at this stage. It's already most definitely at least a pennant. It's also known as an equal opportunities triangle. It is not called by anyone serious a wedge, okay? Equal sided triangles that go horizontally are not called wedges by anyone that knows anything about anything, right? So don't call them wedges, right? Don't do that. When you see someone tweeting out a chart saying the wedge is nearly complete, say that's not a wedge, right? That's either an ascending triangle or it's an upward sloping channel evolving on the charts. It's not a wedge, okay? It's not a broadening wedge. It's not a descending, narrowing wedge. It's not a wedge, right? It's a triangle, right? There are triangles. It is one, okay? If it was a square, I'd say it was a square, not a wedge. It's not a wedge, right? The psychology of that doesn't mean anything. Okay, you're not interested in that, okay? It's a triangle. And not just any kind of triangle. It's a pennant on the top of a bull flag, right? So for goodness sakes, stop saying silly things. But that's cool, right? And if they're nice people and they're tweeting things out and they're saying it's a wedge, fucking good on them, right? Like. Maybe not retweet, but like. Anyway, it's a triangle. And, also it's like if you don't know what you're saying about TA and then you copy somebody who just like says something just so you understand it, that's not the way to do it. Space Monkey, 690, thank you very much. What a lovely little number that is. A lovely little number from Space Monkey there. Thank you very much, Space. So 13th of November, it's 15th of November, 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th. These are the sort of dates that you need to really keep an eye out for if you're interested in volatility. And in the lead up to that, we've seen an increase in volatility anyway. Sure, the last couple of days, not as much, but today, things picking up again. So that's the 2-day time frame. Not time frame. When you slap on the indicators, you can see that there's also these bullish accumulation wedges. These are wedges. They're downward sloping. They suggest a break to the upside. 3 times now we've been through it. The last 2 times it broke up. It's all been within this pattern we talked about on our charts. At the same time, you can see that momentum, well, it's quite where the peaks and troughs are coming in at. Despite the fact that momentum was pushing lower at this stage, price action never made it below its previous lows on the 2-day time frame in the context of an uptrend. That speaks to the bullishness of price action. Subsequently to that, we had a positive cross on the MACD, and now you're getting, well, a perfect entry here with the prices above the 200, the cross coming right at the center line to the top side after a period of bullish momentum and having escaped the most recent low, and that looks very positive for price action, right? Now, this is real technical analysis. Within this formation, you can see that there has been questions asked. We pushed high, lower than our previous high. It was higher than our previous high, though. So is the uptrend intact or not? You'd look to the downside and say it was a higher low. And so 2 on one on the other, you can't necessarily confirm is it an uptrend, but if the inflection is taken from 5, then 3 things point to the top and 2 of them say it's okay. So things are in a period of flux, but with a bullish inflection, and you're looking to test your previous mid-level high. I know it's lower than here, but that's where you're looking to test again, and you're looking to see what strength the RSI puts in at that point, because it could be very, very bullish. If it is, you'll expect it to be very extended, in which case price action might take a pause and come back again. That'd be counterintuitive way to look at it, because it would be in result of a very, very bullish thrust. We would see a retrace on price action, and it may be the first time you break out of this pennant, you hit the 1272, the 141, or the 1618. And I would anticipate it being the 1618, slightly higher than your previous high, where you can see this A point, but not as high as your previous high here on the charts. Hiya. The camera will get knocked if you come in too much. Hiya. No thanks. Nothing thanks. Thanks though. So that was nice, thanks. So what you're looking for here is this measured move at the top and how price action responds when it gets there. Now, my thesis is that it's going there, and a number of people would agree with you. Corey, Bing Bong, Rocky Outcrop, and people who trade harmonics would have looked at this, seen that it was the perfect completion of this pattern, got the D point we expected, the terminal candle we were looking for, and the opportunity to the top side. This is the starting point of opportunity. And here we are making our way through it. And this is a Gartley. The full extension of this in the most positive scenarios would take you up to the 1618 here. You can't trade or expect for more in normal situations. And that is very extended. There are people who would take lower touches on various horizontals along the way and be happy with it. But that's where you'd be looking to. And that takes you way beyond the 618 of this mini fib we're in at the minute, above this down upward sloping supply line, previously demand, outside the top side of this channel and up to confluent and above your previous high at this A point. And that would be the full measured move from that harmonic. And it's super, super reliable way to trade on top of all the other TA that you've been given there and the dates to think about in future. And these being the opportunities to buy, as we talked about here on the channel. We buy at support or doomslayers. Bing bong. Smug Slug 1172, thank you very much. Appreciate it. There goes a little bowl of porridge into the jar too. Hi, look at that. Thanks, Smug. So these are the things. It's like combining the possible reasons for MOASS with what the charts are telling us about timelines. And now you can't rely too much on analysis, time analysis. Certainly if you don't also include some picture of what's going on your y-axis. And it itself neither depend on each other. It's just that there are certain significances lent. So, for example, if price action reaches above a particular horizontal and then holds that level across a candle close where it marks the end on the chart for that candle where it's printed, if that holds above certain horizontals, then that triggers a completely different risk calculation for people on either side of the trade that manage their trades with sensible risk corridors and purchasing power of the individual assets they're trading and so on. So, and its classical technical analysis relies upon those body closes and those wick highs and so on. And these things that go on to form the technical entities on the chart. So, while you can't use the X and the Y the way people might most want to, and the way it might feel like intuitively you should, because of course you're looking at a chart, in terms of representing psychology and predicting future moves, that's not necessarily possible. You can, though, do analysis on the X time axis, and you can do it on the Y axis. And then you can look for meaning between them. And as I say, one will lend significance to the other, especially body closes. And those times, and what is a body close, that's obviously defining there as price action goes along the y-axis up and down. It's the body closes that are telling you what's going on the x-axis, right? That's the start and the stop, the start and the stop, the middle between two ends. This is how you have a candlestick chart in the first place, right? Because time is chunked, and that's your x-axis. So it's the closes and opens and closes, and that's what's defining things over a period of time. Along with on the y-axis, you have your horizontal. So you have horizontal and vertical levels, and each lends meaning to each other, though they aren't necessarily dependent as you might like. And you can see then, looking at these horizontals, that the important levels are where I've drawn them on the charts, and we'll drop down to smaller time frames and talk about them for a second here. Oops, that's me clicking on the streaming software. That's not going to work. There you go, the chart D. The daily chart. To turn off these drawings, I've got Hikinashi candles on for some reason. Yep, right, I'll turn them off. Though they are useful in some senses in identifying trends and whatnot. We're in the daily time frame, we're looking for horizontals, and you look left and you can see that right where we are at the minute, around 192, I say that's $5 up from where we are, and I say it's right at the minute, but it is right more or less where price action is at the minute. It's a very important line. It goes through the center of all price action since we've been up in this range. So being above it would say you're above that average area where trend would be then positive. And so we'll look at the overall picture and say you're above the area that would be most important for measuring whether or not that trend is perhaps to the top side or the bottom side. And as such, it's obviously bullish. Bullish. Now that we're on here and you've got your parabolic SAR on, you can see that you're breaking resistance on the top side. This is the trend resistance as represented across the daily time frame with the parabolic SAR, and you can see that that was mostly commonly coming in on your first shoot up from about 500 and then dropped down until you broke that trend back up again to around $169. Then it started at 340 and made its way down to 151 slow. Price action itself not getting as low. The area which you need to break above to be said to be bullish then be getting lower. So it's easier to break again the trend to the top side. You see how that works over time because of the nature of price action on this chart. Then again, starts lower, eventually makes it to the same levels, or not even as much, but price action itself doesn't drop lower. So again, breaking to the top side and going back for a positive trend is again more relatively easier than a continuation to the downside when those levels don't change and price action never gets as close again, you see? So the distance and the divergence between those sides of the potential breaks gets more and more volatile to the top side, which is when you see moves to the top side, they're already breaking trends so very quickly that the move becomes very, very, the velocity of the move is sharp and swift, and moves are like bang, 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 right above the previous resistance and hit straight up at the next one. As your previous resistance broke it, hit to the next one. As your previous resistance hit it, broke to the next one, broke it straight up, broke to the next one. That's what it's doing. And it's doing that at resistance. And you can see here the nature of price action when you apply some logic to indicators and the x-axis, even though it isn't necessarily the way they were built to be used. So, and you can look at this, and we're on the daily time frame, and we've gotten all the drawings off, and it's quite clear to see these wedges without even the lines drawn, top demand supply on either side of them. You can still see the decrease in wedge and how price action has been tightening in terms of its range at the bottom, tightening in terms of its range at the bottom, all representative of accumulation. All of that coming in with a test of the 200 period moving average on the daily time frame. That's like the first proper significant trend check you've had since you put in an all-time high. And it's the first time that you'll be able to say as a sensible long-term investor who never really buys things until they touch daily time frame moving averages that this is the one that you're most interested in. It's now, that's when it is, and it's happening here. It's happened a few days ago, so you got it. And now you're breaking that parabolic SAR at the top side again, and any sort of close up in around 192 to 195, especially if it's up at 205 on daily time frame, is going to break previous resistance and shoot you straight up to the next one. That's how that works. Put that all on the longer time frames, like 2-day, 3-day and whatnot. You see it clearly. It's slightly hard with all these drawings coming on, but here's that vertical line. Here's the apex of that formation. That's the bullish nature of price action and the lead up to it, and what is technical analysis in some senses? Well, it's a little bit like predicting the weather, okay? It is. And just, if you don't think that's the science, fair enough, you're probably an idiot, but it is. And as funny as it sounds, like, how do you suggest it? What if it's going to be raining, right? Well, if it's raining today, it's probably going to be raining tomorrow, right? That's the weather, right? If you want better than that, you need a supercomputer. And it's the same with price action, right? You either need to be me or Rocky or have a supercomputer helping you. And even then, that's not going to do the business, right? Because it itself won't have any heuristics for learning this shit, because it would first have to understand human psychology, and instead it doesn't, right? And machine learning will only get you so far. So you would only actually be able to do this if you learn it for yourself. And then technical analysis itself isn't about predicting things. It's about understanding where you've come from so that you can then understand what things are like at the minute. What is the current trend? Okay, that's essentially what you're doing. Is it rainy today? Well, then it's probably fucking raining tomorrow, isn't it? You Scottish idiot. How long have you lived here? It's like that every day. It's like that with price action. Is it bullish today? Well, it's probably fucking bullish tomorrow, isn't it? Right? And if it's been bullish 2 days in a row, what the fuck think's going to happen the next day? And then if it's bullish for 3 days in a row, you know, I mean, what do you need to identify a trend, right? You need to turn up at your house and start knocking on the door and saying, hello, ding dong, bing bong. So that's that. That's what you're thinking about from the daily time frame. Look at it, do 12-hour. You know, you're not going to get a different picture there, though the charts are spread out slightly differently. 4-hour, you can see that harmonic forming. You can see the lows. See how bullish they were in terms of your RSI, how they turned into accumulation patterns, higher lows themselves, further pushes on the RSI, all in the context of an uptrend still. Though on the 4-hour, you have got this period of flux at the end, and so more information to be seen as time progresses, doing those same things we've been doing on the way up. Taking off the drawings again, because that's what we've been doing so far. Look at the RSI and see you're touching here at the top of the bearish control zone. You pushed in once, dropped down below it, accumulated at your own moving average, having tested the center line and gone up and tested it again. That's very bullish. It's a 4-hour time frame. You're above the 200 period moving average. It is above the 50, and you had a negative cross. This looks like a failed cross, with price action having recovered as part of the test. If it subsequently tests the 50 again at 177, 178 and bounces up, that's very, very fucking bullish. Flux, says Simon. What is flux? In the context of a trend, what you do is you identify higher lows and lower highs. Okay, so your price action, let's say distinguishing this as a new company from the 10th of February onwards, you can say, well, here we had a low, right? Oops. You can't really see what I'm doing with the price action here and all these drawings on at once. I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll delete them all and then I'll come back and put them on later. The Control Z. So this is to help who was it? Simon, who asked what is flux. Well, have you ever seen Back to the Future? Anyway, no, joking, right? So here's the low you're first going with, right? Here's a low, and subsequent to that, price action went up, right? And there's various ways of doing this. I would say the best way of doing it is using a Fibonacci tool, and you could draw it in from your high to low, and when price action goes beyond the 236, you could define this area as a low, right? And shit, I just drew something in that I don't want to delete, because then I won't be able to like undo, and then get my shit back maybe. Anyway, so there's your low, and you've defined that as a local low when price action went beyond the 236 on the Fibonacci. If you want to learn how to do Fibonacci's properly, look up my video on How to Fibonacci by Tradespotting. It's the best video on it on the internet. It's the best explanation of it in the world. Right, and it just fucking is, eh? And like, as most of my things are, and like whatever, just fucking is, eh? Right, so then price action went up here, and it put in at this point, it then turned around and put in a low. There's, remember, Natural Friend Legend. Can you take a look at GameStop Corp? Ticker is GME. If you can't find it, it looks bullish. Thanks, GME. This is my favorite collab beside Rocky. Yeah, legend. Thanks, Natural Friend. And so this is what we're talking about here. There was a low, and then we defined a high when price action then again went beyond the 236 on a Fibonacci that we could draw in ourselves here. Like, this is from our low to our high, and you're measuring retracement against that trend. Here's your 236. Price action went beyond that. At that point, you were defining this as a local high. So now you've got a low and a high. Okay, so that would speak to perhaps like definitive areas where you could then take measurements from. Your next low on price action, thanks, Natural Friend, that's Jerry Generous, super chat. God bless America and God bless you, my friend. And then price action after that high came in and put in a next low. That low would be defined when price action went above a 236, a retracement from this high down to wherever that low happened to be. Here was where it got to its lowest point. Right, so that's the low, though you're only able to define that low retroactively, having drawn a Fibonacci on here to that low when price action subsequently went beyond the 236 of that retracement to define this area as a local low. Having that been in the past from when price action went is normal. So to see price action go up and then down again as it did here, but be a higher low, but have not broke the 236 or broke it a little bit and came back down, that suggests to a touch of flux, right? There's an aspect of flux within these moves where it doesn't go directly from a low straight to a high, straight to a low, straight to a high, really black and white, really definitive. There's a degree of, well, you know, it's up and down within the trend, and there's some oscillations, and we'll call them flux because there are reasons why price action might stall around there and reasons why it might be picked up and go on again, but they'll rely on tests of significant horizontals and or other reasons at a particular period on the x-axis. And when that happens, we'll be able to judge the strength of them and whether that trend is likely to continue, and we can extrapolate it further, or there'll be congestion and we might be then in due for another retrace to the other side. And we would then start saying we're in a period of flux. At this point, you've got your most recent low, you've gone through the 236. Even though you retraced, it's still a higher low, but in subsequent, like between times, there was no higher high. So again, you'd say, if this is a higher low here, from here, which it is higher, but is it a low? Well, we went through the 236, so perhaps, but then is this a high? Well, if it is, it's much lower than here. So you're like higher lows, lower highs. That would say that your trend isn't necessarily significantly and definitively real, right? Like you've got higher lows, great, but you need higher highs to be in an uptrend. And if you've got lower lows, but not got lower highs, then you don't have both elements of a downtrend either, right? And that's how you analyze trend on the top peak and the low trough. And you can define those areas to then extrapolate trend from using highs and lows, which you can definitively draw in as a technical entity when you rely upon and use a Fibonacci sequence. And so here you are in a period of flux until such times as you then put in a higher high than your previous high. This, if you take it to be your previous high, then you broke it here with a higher high, right? And then obviously you went through the 236, so you can define this as a low. Price action at its next peak is then higher than its previous one, so that's an uptrend. It's also higher than the body closes over here, if not the wicks. The body closes, body closes. So at this point you can say you've put in a higher high and higher lows. This is an uptrend. You could draw a line through the middle of it, and that line goes up the way, and that encompasses all the lows and all the highs and doesn't break any of them. And when you extend it out, it goes up and up and up and up and up. And that, my friend, is your friend called a trend. And it'll be your friend until it ends. And if you want to get better at technical analysis and know how to do this on all of the time frames for a reliable way to trade the markets, to change your life, and to be good and in charge of your own destiny, instead of wasting it working for somebody else, then you can learn all about it by following Rocky Outcrop on YouTube, and you can learn even more by joining his Discord, which somebody should link. You are awesome. What's your thoughts on Elliott Waves as TA tool, especially to GME? I think it's a waste of time. I think that the things that Elliott Waves rely on are harmonics and Fibonacci sequences. I think that Rocky and I are the best at doing it in the world. So other people, if not the world, right fucking up there, and that people would be afraid of stepping into this arena and doing it beside us because they themselves would expose their own ignorances. So they stick to things that I don't even bother with, like Elliott Wave, which is a fucking joke. The principles and tenets of higher highs and waves in price action, sure, I'm with you. The idea that you can do it between 5 different peaks, regardless of the time frame which that is distributed across, is stupid. Elliott Wave himself, as at the end of his life, came to agree that most of what he'd done was stupid, and that it was stupid. It's the 3-point failure aspect of Elliott Wave. I buy into that because it was nothing to do with Elliott Wave. It was all before there, and he just put it and articulated it in that particular way that suited his strategy. It's cool, it's good, it's fine, it's crap, it's rubbish. No, that's what I think of Elliott Wave. You can't use it for reliably trading because it doesn't give you indications on when to enter or where to exit anywhere nearly suitable for trading, despite what it might try and identify on charts. Nearly all of it, if not all the important bits of it, can only be identified retroactively and through significant moves subsequently having already happened, which then removes it from any real ability to use as a proper trading tool. And of all my years working on charts beside other people or with other people, taking their direction or see them follow behind me. Never did I ever see anyone serious ever use Elliott wave to make a serious decision, right? Other than in a 3-point failure and thinking, here's an extra confirmation that I need to get the fuck out of a trade, perhaps. That's it. And that's it. And then no one serious takes it serious. That's the truth. You know, it just is, right? And I'm sorry to disappoint people by saying that, but like, it wasn't me that made it a joke. And if I thought it was good, I'd learn it. So that's the way I think about it, right? Though it can be useful defining extreme targets ahead of moves. If you're like in one and you're already trading it for other reasons, it can be useful for outlining and a possible future. But it will usually be got across a massive time frame, which then decreases its reliability counterintuitively because it uses different peaks within its own waves to measure things. So like the longer you stretch it out over time, counterintuitively, that as in particular indicator actually presents its own inherent weaknesses, whereas others all get stronger. So it's like, that's something about it that's like, I don't really need that in my edge at all. But it will help you if you're in like a longer term time frame, like daily or weekly or above, I'd say. Though some people will use it on the 4 hour and for the same purposes, and it'll give you some idea of, you know, what some market participants will be looking at in terms of the extension of a particular move, depending on the extension of previous ones. And I take it very roughly and very loosely and apply it to my own TA, and you could do it yourself across a chart that I've already done TA on, and you'll see, well, what it's doing is kind of roughly and not as accurately defining areas that Jamie's already said, and it doesn't necessarily tell you the relative importance of each, but Jamie has already done so. And the things that are used to construct this technical analysis are exactly the same tenets of what Jamie's using, but they seem to be used differently, and that's because they're not used as well. Mike 1337, that's appreciated. I think you're getting too caught up in TA with AMC, and it's not a day trade or a swing trade. It's long-term squeeze play. It's more about the sentiment and the fact that there's 5-10 million apes holding, says Crystal Ball 93. I think you're getting too caught up in the TA. Well, the TA, the technical analysis that I do, is classical charting. And so it's all about the price, the momentum, the volatility, and the trend, and the volume. And so it's absolutely everything that's real about the TA, about the price. It's the only real things about the price. That itself, which is value, is complete nonsense because the supply and demand is so messed up. And if what you're relying on, as it seems to be from the second part of your message, well, due respect, Crystal Ball 93, you're talking about market dynamics and how the nature of the market is that it will force shorts to close and to cover and so on. That's like in no way takes away from the value of the technical analysis, which explains why price is doing exactly what it's doing and what it's, when you add that my experience and edge on top of things, what it's very likely to do next. Thanks so much, Dan. How are you doing, my friend? Happy Monday. Legend. So Crystal Ball 93, it's like you say, I think you're focusing too much on TA. That's like saying I think what you're doing is you're looking at the right information and the only pertinent information too much. And what you might want to do instead is to look at this irrelevant other information based on psychology, based on the psychology of people who've no experience of trading, certainly don't have decades of experience of it, people who are well used to being manipulated and know it themselves and will admit that their whole life has been consciously manipulated by people, and who themselves agree that and would stay and sit in groups and friendships and sit together and say to each other that they can't change the world around them because they can't make an impact or not a meaningful one against all the forces allied against them. Yeah, I know that's where those conversations happen. I've been in those rooms and I've had to leave. That you are the master of your own destiny. There is no master of the universe. There is no algorithm controlling prices. There is nobody going to do you a favor but yourself. There is no answer but to buy and hold, and you've got a limited number of funds, so you'll want to do that at the best possible time. And the only possible way to figure out when that is to use technical analysis. And not only am I not focusing on it too much, but if I had, and there was the hours in the day, I'd focus on it every hour of every day on both GME and AMC until MOASS, and I know that it would help more people than I could ever help doing anything else with my time, and has already helped thousands of people make at least, on average, thousands of dollars. And so I think my focus on the TA has brought net benefits to the tune of millions of dollars to the value and capitalization of AMC, and the positive ability of people who've been trading it or buying it with me to change the lives of those people around them that they care about and the world they live in. I think it's, and no offense, right? I think it's an incredibly, and I don't mean to be big-headed, I think it's an incredibly worthwhile thing I'm doing. I think it's perhaps the most worthwhile thing I've done for people on a grand scale in my entire life, and I don't know where I could have more effectiveness. And I think about these things constantly, all the time, and have a very, very big picture of the entire financial system. And I've worked on both sides of most of the execution and of compliance in the biggest investment banks in the world, and on funds, some funds with hundreds of billions of dollars in them. And I'll tell you, having come from that world and sitting here paying not just for my life, but being able to responsible to meet the bills and obligations of other people with technical analysis, that it's a good place to spend your time. And in a world full of fake people and fake platforms and fake messages, there is few places that you'll get a cleaner direct line to the truth than via TA, and in particular via Tradespotting chart or Rocky Outcrop chart. That's I strongly believe that, and I put my time and life energy towards that. And that's what I think about it. I love receipts. See you guys around. Receipts are pretty damn handy, especially at certain times of the year. Good shout, Marantz. How is everybody doing? Jamie and Rocky, I'm here for TNA. The TNA. Yo, la flama blanca. The white flame. Hello to Rocky. Look at that. Friends. Cheers, Marantz. Good to see you, buddy. Nice messages all around. So we got down to the 4 hour. We explained a number of concepts of technical analysis. Combined that with Rocky's video earlier and measured moves, and put it all with a chat about horizontal support and resistance, and then focus on the truth, right? That's the technical analysis. It's the truth. On the 15 minutes here, lower highs on your RSI, equal highs on your price action, context of an uptrend. Let's see if one of these blasts off, and if price holds at its previous resistance or thereabouts, held by the 200 period moving average on this time frame, 50 above it. Positives playing, bouncing up, both for the positive slope. Things are looking really good. You know, they're already good. I finished here great. End of the day, finish higher, even better. 15 minutes. You went through your center line, did well, and at the, and I mean, your momentum positive. Like, right, you can draw another trend line through that if you wanted. And I've taught everyone how to do that a number of times, and how to use the MACD across different time frames for trades or analyzing momentum. And there's all of these things on Rocky Outcrop's Discord. Check it out. So, what else? You're going to change your life being a badass trader? Fucking right, Space Monkey. You're a badass dude already. Craig Hunter, how's it going? Nice message from Rocky there. Cheers for the stream, big man. You're super, if you're talking to me, you're 100% welcome, boss. Cheers, Craig. Hello, Kimmy yo, Craig Hunter, there you go. I am here to change my life. That's the Doomslayer. There's the Marantz Rants, passing it around. Pass it on. What's this that GME's going to explode? I have a big spoon and cup in my sink. A spoon and a cup in your sink, Rocky. So my good, sort it out. That spoon and cup and sink pattern. In sync. I saw a funny meme about in sync earlier. Right, so hey, nobody cares, right? So your 55-20 period. 55. Where's your 18 there? Have I turned it off? 8. if it's not got it on. That's really thin. The 8 period, which you're now just holding at the minute, despite this retrace on a 50-minute time frame, I'd expect this to touch the center line of the RSI, the 50 period, or the 200 period moving average, at which point you'll have your ADI, so your DI positive in a very strong area, and your ADX positive slope in a strong place. Jamie, you're so appreciated for your knowledge and your expertise, your generous sharing of such, and your big heart. Could you maybe take a look at CLSK? You betcha. I'll look at that quickly, and then I'll go on AMC, and then I'll go off the stream. What time is it? Because it's now 5:45. And then I maybe come back on and make a busy apes fun. It's a Monday though, you know. Maybe I won't. I'm freaking dying over here. Thanks so much. That's really appreciated though there. I don't know. I'm just getting the TA, right? If I've got the TA, that's what people want. And then we can come back and look if something's changed. I don't know, right? I mean, I want to be here every time at the same time. And I'm always here at market close. That's my objective. So probably be back or else to stay on. Who knows what I'm going to do. Anyway, we've done the GME. We expect it to push up to 188.89 or try that for the end of the day. If it doesn't, it's got lots of good places to accumulate below. I am here to ruin bankers' lives and make them homeless. My life is pretty good as it is. Yeah. Dan. And see, that's the way it is, see. It's like, some people think like, oh, they're the maligned or the downtrodden, and it's those people who are rising up against their betters. That's the attitude that the upper class would love to foist upon the movement. When it isn't, like, some of the biggest doomslayers and people driving it are, if not huge institutions, right? There are people like Dan and earlier Luke and others who come without even necessarily letting us all know they're there. You know, people who've got shitloads of the thing and who themselves have got a good life and who just worked for it and deserved it and overcame extra incline in 2008 put on everybody and still did very, very well compared to the general population, and they're just as fucked off about it and just revel and enjoy just as much as anybody else, you know. So, well, there is people want to characterize you and us, and like that's part of the reason I started doing this, was because they were trying to make out that anyone who invested in GME was an idiot because the chart said they were an idiot. And I started to look various newsletters and news reports and analysts on there like saying the TA and saying it was saying stupid ass stuff, or using stuff that was true and they knew was true to then take an extra chunk out of price or pretend it was going down. And I saw it and I was like, that's just not cool, man. You know, like, and it isn't necessarily normal for somebody for like me to do this or whatever, but like this is now calls for, you know, what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, you're kind of brought into it. And like, I can't say I'm not unlike Dan. Like, I do like the idea of destroying the lives of lots of different bankers. They themselves so complicit in the evil that's so insidious and so everywhere. Yeah. Truth is, there'll be plenty of bankers helping us destroy the lives of other bankers. I mean, right at the top of living as a banker, that's what your job is. It is kind of to try and destroy the lives of other bankers. It's not like it's some sort of war against poor people. You know, like you want to take the money off the people who've got it, and they happen to be other big liquidity providers. So, you know, I'm here for you, BlackRock. You know, you tell me you were going to fight Zettel, I'm here. And I tell you, right, I'm fucking right. I'm at the front line. In fact, I'm waiting for you guys. It's the truth about it. We're all actually waiting for you guys. So, you know, get that bugle out. Life skills are good. You never know what can happen in your own life or those around you. Life skills, skills for life will help you and others. It's a good thing. It's true. Life skills, skills to have in your life for your life. I think another thing that people don't think often about or don't have a cause to think about is that you should think about the way you think. You should think about the way you think all the time. You should become proficient and competent at thinking about the way you think. Otherwise, you're a fucking idiot. Okay? Doesn't matter how naturally intelligent you are. If you don't think about the way you think, right? And what are you relying on in order to improve? Or do you think you're the perfect finished article already in all aspects? In which case, if you ever want to improve, you'll have to think about the way you think. And thinking about the way you think about life skills is a very important thing. Tradespotting, Heo, any chance you can look at Maxer? Maybe Astrid. Yo, Astrid, you're the person that comes along and gets loads of free TA on things that you've written at. And you're very lucky, but you've only tuned in like 3 or 4 shows. But I will have a quick look at it because I am so freaking nice and I don't do enough for everybody around here. Even though, like Andy was saying on the stream earlier, like, you get a hard time for talking about other tickers. Like, well, it's only because people like GME and AMC and also happen to have money and other things, and you want them to lose their money because that'll mean they then don't hold as much GME and AMC because they're not going to do that if they lose money, are they? Also, Astrid, when you come along and you're like, hey, yo, any chance you can? It's like, well, of course there's a chance. And of course I'm capable. But in your endeavor and efforts to make it seem like a tiny little no big deal, what you also really do effectively is not do that, because I know that it's a big deal to give somebody professional analysis on stock with my experience for free. I know that's a fucking huge deal. But what you actually do is you diminish that effort of mine by saying a quick look-see. And I know you're not doing it on purpose and you're a nice guy and it's just a nice part or girl and it's just a nice way of talking and being cool and communicating. It's just that over a period of time, people get the impression that what I'm doing is just taking a quick look-sees at things rather than actually revealing the future and life-changing information, and that then efforts are incredibly valuable. And I've done it a number of times for you. And if you just come along and say, hey, yo, and then make a request, it's like you've not said hello to anybody in chat, maybe. You've not asked them how they're doing, who some of them would really appreciate a hello and a nice conversation. You know, you do, people, oh, there, you're saying hello to Rocky Outcrop, that's nice. Oh, there's Stronicle saying hello to you. Ah, there's people being nice to you. Okay, great. Good. So, like, you know, I need the people to be talking to each other and that, you know, be friendly with each other. So there it is, you know. Sorry if you consider that a spanking. I didn't mean it to be just a chat, right? You know, fuck it, whatever. Yeah. And so, yeah, thanks very much. I'll take a look at it. What was it? Maxer? Where are you? It's gone now. Maxer. And then I've got to look at something else. I'll have to write these down now. 2 things. How am I going to remember 2 things? What was it? Maxer, right? And then the other yin your guy asked for. What was that? It wasn't www.bananafridgeextendedwarranty.com, which is what I've got there. It was, and your boy paid for it. What was it? CLSK. Not that it was me that invented the concept of money, obligations, and priorities. I certainly fucking didn't. But, like, the fact that your boy did it means, obviously, that I will. CLSK. This better be on my chat requests. No? Clear Spark. Okay, Clear Spark. Is this correct? I think it is. Right, okay, so Astit, please don't be upset with me, please. If it feels like I'm abrupt. It's true, I'm abrupt. If it feels like I'm out of crack. It's true, I'm out of crack. If it feels like I'm a little bit over the top. Probably am. Right, so you're on 15 minutes here, Jamie. You're really going to start there on something you never looked at before? No. I'm going to start on a weekly, get a picture of this. It's been in a downtrend, though it's not desperately far away from its initial offer price. Has put in a hugely far away low and a massively far away high. Like, so the range on this thing's massive. Around since 2015, so you can do decent TA on it. But had a desperate recovery there, desperate destruction and recovery that took it back to its average range. $200 periods just popped on 50 below it, and it's got a test on the weekly time frame. That looks like it's going to go through. Price action may in that case be pulled up towards these levels. That looks around 18.55, $20. That's where price action wants to go in the weekly time frame. You can see on the 3-day it's already got plenty of reasons to stop going up, having hit the 50 period moving average, gone beyond it a chunk and had a retrace. Tested 200 and bounced up again, not tellable. Not tellable, but it's in a kind of like period of lower lows and lower highs. Just stretch it out so that's more obvious. So like this lower highs, lower lows situation. On the 3-day you can see that since this 2020 you have been in an uptrend, though you've most recent high likely divergent there. Yeah, quite highly divergent on both momentum and RSI there, and you know, the clear change coming in the DMI from that most recent peak. All divergence across the board for that second high, at which point you'd expect a test of the 200 period moving average on that time frame, or a test of a specific Fibonacci or horizontal level, one of the three of those things. First coming in, bounce off the 382. You broke the 236. If you hold the 382 and go on, that's positive, though you could see anything as much as a retrace down to $4.10 and still be maintaining this. Nothing inherently negative about the trend. 2-day recovered that 200, recovered the 50, pushing to the top side. RSI just starting to touch the top of this bullish control zone. Positive sign on your MACD and a positive cross on the DMI. So this could be the start of a new trend to go in the right direction. You haven't got that on your ADX yet, though it may pull itself up. You want to see it above 20, get some strength, even if that crap all. And then you can see the parabolic SCR says you really don't want to drop it below 10.58, $11 or so. With the current price of this thing at what? 16.38. Sorry, that wasn't on the screen for a while there. And this is CLSK, which is of course Klisk. Clears back. So on this 2-day time frame, you've recovered the 50 period moving average, and they've got a positive slope. And no, they don't have a positive splay. So you want to get some further moves up here. You want to hit above $20 on that, break this structure, and then move on up. And I wonder where the moving averages are in the 4 hour there. I can't skip the daily. Like, you've got the 200 above you coming in at 1920, 1940. Like, you'd have to break that and break horizontal looking left at 2030, which is also like the support when you were below here. You'd expect at least a number of touches. You've had one. I'd expect at least 2, if not 3, then 4 before you broke that area on this asset. Already being so far into your bullish control zone, be natural to turn around any of these areas, especially if it reached the top of it. At that stage, well, it's going to have broke the 200. I doubt it, but it might, and then come back, and then we'll see. Test of the 50. Let's see, you're drawn up to across on the weekly at around $20. So seeing prices get there, 1940 or above. You know, it's not unreasonable. It's just, and it's not to be sniffed at price move. And if you're already in the trade, these are the areas to go for. But I'd be putting in stop losses just below your 50 period moving average there on the daily time frame at 1281. If my entry was below it, I'd move it up already. I'd have it at 1340 if I was looking at this from a 12 hour or below. On the 4 hour, I'd have my stop in at around 1420. If I'd entered at any of these areas at 10s, 11s, or 12s that have been entered, moving it up now, I'd be looking at this thinking there's a touch of divergence coming in here. You're crossing this 200. The 50 itself needs to get pulled up to be across. The likely will be a test at that point. You'll be coming back down to $13 or less. The most you're going to look for sensibly to the top side is $3. You'll take three off it to the downside. That's a bigger percentage move. Why be holding through a drop if you're already in and you're in profit? I'd take profit and I'd get back in there if I desperately wanted the thing, which I would do as and when I looked at price action and the different signatures it was putting in at the time. Positive on your momentum, still strong on your trend here, and that's doing everything it needed to do. It's just the risk reward is differentiated by the chocolates available for your various biscuits, mean you're likely to want to look for take profits and re-entries if you're holding this thing. RSI is doing good, but is potentially needs tests of lower areas again as the rain cracks out really loudly outside. Momentum doing well, as we said, still good on RSI and still good on Rocky Group. DMI down hourly is the only first time frame that means anything with regards to real significant charting, depending on how you chunk your information and whatnot. But for me, in terms of reliability, it's the daily, and you had this pullback with the strength when it caught the ADX. Well, that area horizontally as the ADX came in around the same place, totally coincidental, but very positive. Back above into the bullish control zone, back pushing up here, holding the 8 period. Really strong linear trend on the 1 hour there. Easily drawing this channel from the top side and bottom. Say it's been persisting for a while. It likely continues. Channels become wedges, wedges become channels. Something like that there. Equidistant between these two parallel lines. Follow that trend as and where it can. 30 minutes. Similar. Perhaps you're putting in an equal high here on the horizontal in 30 minutes with a slightly lower strength on the RSI, or else it goes higher and it's bearishly divergent. Either way, it'd be class B. You'd look for a retest of your 50 or your 200, and at that point you might be thinking this breaks down at the bottom, but only to its own horizontal, looking left here at 13 and change, maybe high up 1390, and that would be the sort of place you'd be looking for a re-entry if you were thinking about continuation. This would be the sort of place you would take profit if you were very sensible. On the top side of things, you're probably not going to get that much more than 1940, 1950. We'll drop that in at 1940s, 1920 areas. And this is the sort of move and range that price action is likely within, So that's TA on that thing. What was your one for Asted? Maxa. And it may be that Maxer asked Rocky to do this the other day, and I was like, I'll do it for you on Monday or tomorrow, and then didn't, in which case I've been blabbering off at Aston quite rightly. Might want to tell me to remember what I said and shut my mouth. Anyway, on to Maxer. Which one did I like? That's not that. Should be a different one. Anyway, Maxer. And you've got very bullish 200 period moving average, uptrend, retrace, bullish retrace, positive, looks like a buy, run the 30 minutes. You've got MACD above the 200 period moving average. Likely in the next wee while get a positive cross on your MACD, especially if you put between MACD and a single line, especially if you make it above the center line here. Your negative trend that took over at this point has started to peter out. The strength of that trend is quite strong. If the DEI positive flicks up now, this would be a great entry. Buy at support, so if you got it at 28.80, that's great. 29 and change, not all that different from here. 30-minute time frame. If you get across on the MACD here, which you might do in about an hour or half an hour, would suggest price action is likely going to go on and test up at around 29.86 or higher. Looking left horizontally, it could get to 30.30, and if you want to hold it, now's the time to buy it on 30 minutes. On the 1 hour, that's tested the 200 period moving average. It's not really slipped into the bearish control zone. You haven't yet recovered your own moving average nor test anywhere near the center line yet, so there could be a bit of consternation. Ripper, this is the extent of any recovery temporarily, and then price action goes down. In order to break this trend and at least even aim to your previous higher high, you're looking to break 30 bucks and 22 and touch the parabolic SCR, previous horizontals looking left, get back up and maybe continue this uptrend. This RSI having finished and turned around higher than its previous move, and that being within a sensible look back period, would mean that when this got back up again above the 236 of this most recent Fibonacci, you define that as a bullishly divergent low. You need to see it above 29.28. Not that far away, but percentage-wise, not close, desperately. Good pattern there on candlesticks. Not ideal, but not negative yet. Does look like perhaps the full extent of this down move, biggest chunk of it's gone. Positive slope on the 50 period still. Negative trend, not done any damage on the early 4 hour. Try to cover the center line below the 55 exponential. You're below the 200. You're now in this time frame can see you're in a downtrend and that you've most recently hit 200 period moving average and pushed down again. That was very strong in terms of the RSI, but you're in a downtrend and therefore it was not very bullishly divergent on the bottom hand, though it was, with a lower low in price action RSI not making it there in the context of a downtrend. There's like a touch of positivity about that, but you've just had a negative cross on the 4 hour. That's not good. It's come through. You've failed the test of the 200. That 200, which is negative splay, and that's above the 50 period. Your dominant trend here is coming in for a trend check on the 4 hour. As it's happening, you've got a negative slope on the ADX, which you would expect. But it might speak to a slightly bit of flux here on this indicator with a cross and up and down and a maybes. With how markets actually work and how funds actually work, and well, it's a good thing that they have less complex and more efficient tax implications. That's a good point, Rocky. The idea of the idea of it being exchange traded is good for so many reasons, and also worse for all of them. Death is the nature of financial industry. Some more grey, please. I'll have some more grey with my tea. 32.43, an extension on this. If it does break above the 200 on this 4 hour at 1618, 1414, you look left horizontals and you're aiming for about 32, 33 bucks, which is, a percentage move from where we are now. It's very, very tradable. It's just on the 4 hour, does it look like it's breaking those? I know this would be your entry from the lower time frames. On the 4 hour, it would suggest that you've just about touched an area where it may go up a wee bit, so you can see how it goes and manage it with a stop. It may be a lucrative trade. Volatility might catch your stop and take you out if you try and move it up as price action moves. But if you can get it back to break even, then there's nothing lost. And at which point the price action may from that point go higher, and you'd have been buying it as support, not resistance, and that would be the time to try and get it rather than later if it did do well on this thing. 4 hour though does say that there might be plenty of opportunities. If it does break these areas, especially up at around $32, opens and closes a 4 hour there, then I expect it to go to 37 bucks, and that might be a bigger trade with lower risk and a better place to enter. That being said, you buy it support, not resistance. This would be support, especially if it reclaims the center line in the 4 hour there on the RSI, having put in this trend of higher lows and higher highs since the 9th of September. That could continue on. It's 4 hour time frame. It's not that far a long time ago. It's been a trend change since then with lots of bullish divergence at these lows. Good places to turn around on the RSI. It's making significant moves here, This could be good, Asted. Asted, you might have looked at a good one there. Yeah, I might have done so. I'd be looking for it. If it does those 4 hour things, not just test that area, I'd expect it to hope it itself would be looking for 37. To drop it in there, it's fairly obvious anyway, but. And then you've got a really important one here, which would be somewhere around 41.50. Now, likely does test there at some point, even if it does take a while, and there could be various oscillations within price between here and there, but I expect it to make it back to around 41.51. And then we'll look to see about these highs and if they're divergent or not. That's what you're aiming for. Plenty of failure points along the way, and that's why you've got take profit targets much lower than those levels. Okay, Asted. There's that. I hope that you're still here and haven't fallen out with me. AMC. And if you're somebody's name who I've forgotten from somewhere else and you've got a different name on a different platform, whatever, then please do forgive me because I do that all the time. Like, who are these people? Merrick Sanders, my only 30 minutes in catching up. I love this. Oh, right. Excellent. Merrick, you're a legend. Glad you liked it. Wow, that was a loud ding. Fix that, Jimmy. Yeah, it was great speaking to Andy. It was really nice. Guy's a legend. And hopefully it's a helpful video. It was very much intended to be that way. You know, it was like very much intended to be helpful. That was it. So AMC, no need to really start on a weekly time frame here. You're on the 4-hour time frame. I mean, if you don't know my TA on this, I suppose I could start on a weekly. You went through this bullish formation here. You broke out from a bullishly divergent low, as you can see, your RSI price action, bullishly divergent, came up, tested this all-time high, put in a pennant, or alternatively, you could call this a bull flag. And if you wanted, you could call it an equal opportunities triangle, but it's definitely, 100% definitely a triangle, right? And no one serious would call it a wedge. Anyway, maybe you call it a pennant, maybe you call it a bull flag. The extended, the full extension of a measured move off it is from your low of your pull to the top, which is just so happens to be the move this thing made when it went up here previously to 70 something bucks, having broken out of this formation. And that's what price action is continuing to do for AMC. If you turn off the drawings here, this formation, which is so very obvious with the drawings on there. Oh shit, I forgot to redo my TA on GME by pushing Control Z and get all my drawings back, so I've lost everything explaining flux for Simon. I'm an idiot. There goes the work. You're an idiot, Jimmy. Maybe I should stop doing what I'm doing, then I could at least try Control Z through a number of things, see if it ever gets me there, which it won't. Anyway, so I turned the drawings on and off there, and as you can see, it identifies price action quite clearly. This pattern here, right? Potentially you're in a wedge at one part of it. You could call it a channel, but overall it's that pennant. Thank you very much, Merrick. You're welcome, Astrid. Very, very welcome. And then, so is anybody else who benefits from it, right? And then, what did we do? We're doing that same thing again, but within these things, you put in various other shapes and patterns and tradable formations. And at this point, there's a harmonic on the go. Higher low here, lower low was bullishly divergent. You came up, tested that high, you got a positive cross in your 50 period 200, 4-hour, good to see, came back, failed really, and price action hovering above the 200, which itself is above the 50. You want to see a positive continuation there with the 50 kicking price action up and pushing AMC into 48, 49, 50 bucks. Like, you really want to see that. Currently at 43.02, that's good move, right? Holding above 41, 44, 41.60, really important. Open and close 4 hours here, also really, really important. Zooming in, you can see it had the one big strong move that broke you above that horizontal resistance, right? Which I was saying was important here. 41.60 or whatever it is. Drop on the... it's because I got the drawings off in it. Anyway, there is your drawing, right? You broke through it. You've got this hot downward sloping supply line running across the top. I know we're on a 4 hour, but it's real enough on longer time frames, and that's why it's there. You're also at your 1272, 1414 extension of your Fibonacci from your breakdown of this previous high. Oh, sorry, this retrace against this previous high to low. So continuation there that we've seen, we expected it to be there. This is the first area where you expect to see a test on price action now, and maybe a retrace to that 41.68 level. Price action on the RSI suggests that it does need to come back down and test something, maybe even the center line, which would be as far down as 40 bucks again, that 200 period moving average in a 4 hour, though by the time you get there, it may have moved up a buck. Positive trend on the DMI, nothing to worry about there. Time frame 4 hour, expect continuation of this, even with a retrace down to the hourly time frame. Boom, boom, boom. There's very bullish psychology behind that picture. Whoa, right, that's very good. This is going to go on, it's going to test 50 bucks. That's very strong on DMI, and it's going down the time lanes now, talking about this. And there you got on the 30 minutes with that, and what's the MACD saying? It can't have given you a recent sell signal because it's just been too good, right? Oh my god, it did. It gave you one right there at 10 o'clock. Fuck, that was a good one too. That was nearly perfect. Holy shit. This is really, really, really bullish. It's just that's what's taking you above your previous resistance. Now you want to see it confirm that as support. And things are looking good for AMC. What's going to happen? It's going to do everything we said it was. It's going to look for its measured moves. I expect to see it testing $50. At that stage, there'll be a lot more questions to be asked of it, and likely drops of percentage moves that will like piss people off and whatnot. So bear it in mind, you know, and deal with it, psychology or practically whatever way it is that your implications for your account or your mentality. So that's the TME, AMC, LTA. There's a harmonic there. It's like potentially a bearish harmonic. And that's very interesting for AMC when it gets up to these places, the D point on this harmonic, and you're looking for it $80, $77, $83, $82. Lots of questions are going to be asked there. Lots. And I really urge you to pay attention to that area. So if I hit Control Z lots, does that get me back my very important GME stuff? Because I really want it back. Wow, I'll go much further than I expected. It's just still up for me. I'm all the way in. It's clear spark. Tradespotting live during market hours. Shined a bush. Howie can't believe it. Have I made it out to GME? I have. Have I got rid of the flux? I'll get right to there and it'll be right to my originals and not on anymore. Eh? Dome, there it is. Thank goodness. Alright, I feel good now. And I also feel bad for those moments where I thought I'd lost it and was feeling a tiny touch of negativity. Stupid me. Duo, Maxwell, rewind. It was a great interview. Duo, you will love it. You will love it. So what time is it? 6:15. I can't just sit on for 3 hours looking at price action. I've already said everything that's likely to happen. Could take requests and all now, but then I'd be wrecked. I did be wrecked. I'll maybe come back for that. My mum is here in town and she's in my flat, so I'll say hello to her and then maybe come back for a busy ape finishing up video. Thank you so much for everybody who was here, who tuned in, who hit the like button. If you hit the like button, it's appreciated. Thanks. And maybe edit out that little section in the middle where I went and made a cup of tea so it's snappier and people can watch it back and enjoy it, because I think there's helpful information here on the first instance and the interview and that. I hope people don't think it becomes dated because it was a live video and the TA afterwards was to a degree time specific, because it was quite long ranging. There was loads of lessons, and this is the sort of video you should be able to watch a number of times and learn stuff from. That's the objective. That's why I put in the effort. And I am conscious of the fact that I do it and it gets lost because I don't constantly identify it with headlines, learning outcomes, and multiple joint questions. But it is what it is. Hopefully it's good and hopefully it worked. Tradespotting, what would you recommend for sitting on Jockin and timeframes that you analyze it with? What are you asking me, sipping on piss? You're asking me about how I would set the indicators. Chalking. Like on the top of my head, right, I use it the same way I would instead use the Donchian channels. That's like the best answer I can give you in less than 5 seconds. I'll look into it more and give you a better answer later. But if it's what I'm thinking it is and the way to use it, then I use it with just instead Donchian channels. Unless we're talking Charlie chalking. Are we talking Charlie chalking? Hit the like, you fannies. There it is. That goes to Luke Spears. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Space Monkey. Thank you, OT. Thank you for the questions. Astrid for the question. That was OT asked about Clear Spark. Thanks for everybody for being here. Shut up, Astrid. Super chatted $15. 15 packs. $20. 20. You're a Canadian. Why didn't you just say? You could have had it all for free in 2 hours more, Astrid. Thanks. I think we're friends now. I think we were friends already, though, aren't we, Astrid? So, thank you very much. That's desperately appreciated. That's very generous of you. Put me to shame there. Thanks. It's appreciated. Tell us later the family time. See you close. See you guys. Love yous. Thanks, mate. Yous are all welcome. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully that's helpful. That's the TA. Earlier on, we were speaking with Bandy. Have I still got the chart up? What does it look like over there? Look, that's me. I am The Wheel of Doom. Whoa. I nearly made it, folks. Hey, fuck, I'm an idiot. Right, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. See you later on. All the best. Tradespotting. Tell your friends.